Good morning and welcome to Traverse City and our July meeting of the Board of Regents. I'd like to call the meeting to order with a roll call. Regent Acker, Regent Bean,
Here.
Regent Bernstein,
Present.
Regent Brown,
Here.
Regent Hubbard,
Here.
Regent Illich, Regent Myers,
Here.
and Regent White.
Here.
Today, we welcome Regent Bean as our new chair and Regent Myers as our vice chair. I look forward to working with you as we continue to move Michigan forward. That's when I was going to do the applause. Okay? A great university like ours is never static, which means we sometimes have to say goodbye to valued colleagues. As you know, 3 of our executive officers have accepted positions at other leading institutions. Skip Lupia, Vice President for Research and Innovation, will join Georgetown University as its first Senior Vice President and Chief Research Officer. He has led our extraordinary research enterprise since 2024 and has been a faculty member for over 25 years. Tim Lynch, our longtime Vice President and General Counsel, will move to Palo Alto to become Vice President and General Counsel at Stanford University. Tim has done so much to guide and protect the university and to advocate for our best interests. And as was announced yesterday, David Miller, Executive Vice President for Medical Affairs, is departing to become President and CEO of Vanderbilt Health and Dean of the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. David has been with Michigan Medicine for 18 years, and I know this was a difficult decision for him as well as a remarkable opportunity. Change can be disruptive and unsettling, yet our university has never been defined by an individual leader or a singular program. Rather, we are defined by our mission, impact, and commitment to the public good. Tim, David, and Skip have exemplified these values with their leadership. Building on their example and accomplishments, we will continue to move forward with the same purpose that has guided Michigan for more than 200 years. One of our many strengths is the depth of talent across all levels of the university, and we will call upon it. I know our community members will step forward to continue our stable leadership and commitment to excellence. Board members will have more to say shortly. Until then, please join me in thanking Skip, Tim, and David for their dedicated service to Michigan. I'd now like to call on Provost McCauley to introduce today's presentation.
Thank you, President Grasso. I'm pleased to introduce Professor Aimee Klassen, Director of the U of M Biological Station and Professor of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology in the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts. She has studied how warming and environmental change reorganize ecological communities and alter the flows of carbon, water, and nutrients through ecosystems. Professor Klassen joined the University of Michigan in 2020, following roles with the University of Vermont, the University of Copenhagen, and the U.S. Department of Energy's Oak Ridge National Laboratory. She was named a Fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science for transformative contributions to ecosystem science and for leadership in advancing a sustainable future. Professor Klassen was also elected a Fellow of the Ecological Society of America in recognition for her contributions to global change, ecology, international scientific collaboration, and service to the field. She's received mentoring awards from colleagues at U of M, the U.S. Department of Energy, and the Association for Women Soil Scientists, reflecting a long-standing commitment to supporting the next generation of ecologists. In 2007 and 2014, she was recognized as a promising young scholar by the U.S. National Academy of Sciences Frontiers of Science program. Professor Klassen is the first woman to serve as the director of our biological station since its founding in 1909. She's a native of North Carolina and earned her Bachelor of Arts in Biological Science from Smith College, as well as a PhD in Biology from Northern Arizona University. Let's welcome Professor Klassen.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So I think some of you, maybe most of you, were with us in the summer of 2022 when you visited Douglas Lake. And I've thought about that visit often because I'd like each of you to hold that place in your mind while I talk. My ask today is essentially what's on this slide. When you think about what makes the University of Michigan singular, look north. Look to the Michigan's Field Research Station. We sit on 13,000 acres in northern Lower Peninsula, and we have been doing science on the ground without a single interruption for 117 years. There are very few places like it anywhere in the world, and we are one of the only ones in Michigan and the United States. Our mission is to be a gathering place to learn from the natural world, to advance research and education, and to inspire action. We take more than a century of research and the kind of transformative experiences that you can only have in a field station, and we turn them into discoveries and solutions that benefit Michigan and the world. When you visited us in 2022, you helped set something in motion. You helped us come up with you set something in motion. You helped us invite an external review committee to come up to the University of Michigan. And this was really important for us because they determined that the University of Michigan Biological Station could do something that no other station in the world could do. That we have the possibility to be excellent in both research and education. This is a group of world leaders, and they could think of no other biological station that was excellent in both research and education. So we took that charge to heart, and we did something that we had never done in the 117 years at the biological station. We created a strategic plan. And since then, we have been building on that strategic plan. We have active research projects. We have 73 of them now. We have a total researchers of 189 researchers. And we have the number of institutions that are up to 40 institutions. But the number that I care about most of all is that 6 years ago, almost none of the researchers came from the University of Michigan at the biological station. And today, over 40% of our researchers are University of Michigan researchers. Our own faculty and students have discovered that, and they have an asset in Northern Michigan to use for their research and educational programs. Our campuses are moving beyond biology. We are starting to include things like engineering, public health, writing, art, computing, and chemistry. We want to be the Northern Michigan Field Station for the entire University of Michigan. So that momentum points us to three potential opportunities. One, we've been really working since you guys last visited us, become a year-round campus. So that includes not only stopping all of our research and education that happens in October, but carrying that through the 12 months of the year. We're going to start for the first time, we're going to try to start a Michigan Up North semester. So that's where we'll bring students from the University of Michigan to spend a semester, much like you would a semester abroad, but it's a semester in Northern Michigan. We know that these experiences are really powerful for our students. They give them the opportunity to learn and discover, and so we're excited to carry that forward into the fall and winter terms. We're also trying to do more community engagement. We think that the station belongs to all of Northern Michigan, and so we would like to extend our teaching, educational opportunities, research opportunities, and our 13,000 acres better to the entire community of Northern Michigan. So we've been working on trying to build a community engagement program that extends beyond our borders. We'd like to become Up North. We also are working on building, or hoping to build and envisioning, a new research and education collaboratory, because the problems that we can help solve are big ones, and they don't just end, with one discipline. And so this is a space that we would envision as having the ability to bring all of these different researchers, as well as the students taking classes and doing research, into the same building, so that we can work together and solve very important problems. For a long time, we've been tackling bold issues, including environmental change. One of the things that's really unique about Michigan Biological Station is that, of course, we have 117 years of data. We have been watching this particular place change and collecting data for 117 years. So we've been able to watch environments change. So we've been thinking about how to expand our research program to help the state of Michigan, as well as northern Michigan communities. And so we're focusing on a few new areas. One of those areas is disease. So we've been interested in thinking about how diseases are spreading northward in Michigan, things like tick-borne diseases. And in this case, we've been working with some of our rodents. You can see here that this is a rodent running around in this box. We've been curious at how disease changes how rodents or other organisms that spread pathogens move in their environment, and when they're sick or when they are healthy. This is a mouse, and you can see when it's in the middle, it usually means it's healthy, and if it's on the sides, it's usually infected with something. We're also starting to track climate change and environmental change in the winters and across seasons. This is a really exciting opportunity for Michigan because it turns out across all of our units at Michigan, across the entire university, we have well over 30 faculty that are interested in and working on winter. And so we started to bring them together in the last term to think about collaborating across the Michigan campus, as well as thinking about how we can have engagement with communities. So we had our first meeting recently, and we're starting to bring researchers and build new research infrastructure up in northern Michigan. I think it's really important to have something like this in northern Michigan because when you go out in the community, one of the things that we all realize is that winters are really changing. And particularly in this part of the state, winters are important for our economy, right? We have lots of people who like to ice fish, they go out on their snowmobiles, they enjoy winter activities. And as we're starting to get variation in how winter happens, for example, the really severe ice storm we had 2 years ago, it's important for us to be able to monitor that. And that's one of the best things the University of Michigan Biological Station can do. So we've been looking at this environmental change, when disease spreads, and these winter and seasons, but of course we can start to use AI to build for a more sustainable future. It's one of the things that can tie these types of research programs together. So I like to think of this as like yesterday's data and today's discovery. So these are some of the pictures of researchers working at the biological station in 1909. There is no way that they could even imagine what people would be doing with their data today. So you can think of this guy sitting at his microscope, counting insects, going into lakes, collecting specimens, and they would have no idea what we were doing with their data 117 years later. So it's important to remember that we can use these data to explore patterns over time with AI. But we also need to remember that we need to continue collecting these important data so in another 117 years, researchers can use them in ways that we could never, ever imagine. So not only are we using AI to think about going backward in time, using our data to explore new patterns and data that we could never imagine with these systems, we can also use AI to think about our dark data with students. So we don't want this just to be something that professors are using to gauge their research. So we are about to start applying for This is an example of how we've been using AI with our research. This is Anshuman Swan. He's a brand new professor at Michigan in EEB. And if you guys have the opportunity to meet him, you have to. He's an absolute hotshot, and he's so fun to talk about. He knows everything. He came up to the biological station this spring because, of course, we're trying to recruit all the hotshots to the biological station. And he just had tons of ideas. And he's really good at using AI. And he used some of our dark data to explore questions about when pollinators go to different flowers. And it turns out that somebody in 1980 had collected this really detailed data set on pollinators on flowers, the type of data we just don't collect today. And he could use that to think about the data that he's been collecting in the field in an entirely new way. And within a week of being at the biological station, he'd already written a new paper using these data collected in 1980 in a way that nobody would have ever thought about before. So we're really excited about using AI to think about these dark data that have been living in file cabinets for a long time and making them alive. The other thing we're really trying to do with our 117 years data is make it publicly accessible. So everything now, in the last 6 years that we create at the biological station and everything in our archives, we are making publicly accessible. So of course, we don't want this just to be our researchers. We're also thinking about how we can integrate AI and learning tools so students can build on could build for their futures and their CVs. And one of the things that we've been thinking about is having a discovery program for students in the field in our research program. So this is the undergraduate research program that can be funded by the National Science Foundation. So we're putting in a proposal right now, led by Anshuman Swan, to think about how we can bring students to the station, use some of those dark data that have been hidden for a long time to make new discoveries, and then we'll also teach them how to use the information they got from that 117 years to then go out and collect and build new stories with new data. So we're doing both at once, which I think is important, because we need to be able to learn these tools, but we also need to recognize that we need to be able to collect data to move forward into the future. Okay, so one of the things that I think is the most fun over the last 6 years is that, I always tell people the University of Biological Station is great because it's like a little incubator. We're far enough away from campus that you can test really creative things without, really fun stories and ways of teaching. And so we've been having really fantastic teachers that have been coming up and embedding students in discovery. Whoop, was that me? Can you still see it? Oh, yeah, okay. So one of the first stories I'd like to tell were the ants that were on that last video. Some of you may have seen them last night, living in these pine cones. It turns out that students in our entomology class last year made a discovery. And it's not just a discovery in Michigan. It's not just a discovery in our like the United States. It is a discovery that had never been seen anywhere in the world. And that was that these tiny little ants live in pine cones. So our students in that class are able to publish a paper on a phenomena that nobody had ever seen before. So our classes are using this discovery-based approach to teaching where they can teach the basics as well as teach students to be able to do exploratory research that then gets published, which is great for them thinking about how to become scientists. We also have a class right now called Insights from Trees. It's a multidisciplinary course that has drawing, writing, the arts, humanities, thinking about trees from economic perspectives and science perspectives, art perspectives, all of it. And these students go out and they're looking at the bottom of these leaves on trees, can create these little homes where mites can live. And those mites, they go on the top of the leaves and they ward off all the fungi and insects that come to them. And in that process, they allow these trees to be healthier and live longer. Turns out we don't know very much about those leaves and those mites, and so these students have been going across the University of Michigan Biological Station and collecting information on them. They have published a paper from their results every single year for the last 3 years. So these are students taking what they're learning in their courses and creating real science that impacts humanity. We have another example from our Eco Evo Devo class. You might remember Andre Green, who gave a talk here in the last time on his butterflies. He's incredible. And he's had students being using CRISPR technology in the field in northern Michigan to explore how gene expression can change butterflies and their migration. And for the first time, they were able to get a yellow coloration on migrant butterflies' bellies. And it's the first time we've seen that in the world. There are many, many programs around the globe that were trying to find this yellow coloration. But Andre Green was able to do it in 4 weeks with 10 students in an in-depth field experiment. Finally, we've been having a great observational and modeling class on climate change. Last year, these guys used data from our flux tower, which I think you saw, this big tower in the middle of the woods that looks at how carbon is moving from the trees to the atmosphere. And what they found was that some of these trees have been really resilient to how the climate is changing. That's good news for us because we can think about how to use those trees moving forward when we're trying to make adaptable forests. They also published this work. So I've been talking a lot, and what I really want to do is show you this video because I think it gives you a good example when you hear from the students and the researchers about what an incredible place the biological station is.
This is probably the most hands-on class I've ever had.
They're immersed here in northern Michigan in a landscape that's dynamic, that's changing.
This is definitely the preferred species. They also cut hemlock.
That is also representative of the region.
It's making us think a little deeper about organisms that aren't human.
Don't be intimidated by the field and outdoorsy aspect of it. There's a lot of people to help.
We see that and appreciate the biodiversity that's around us at the station, but we get to think a bit more deeply about how does that biodiversity come to be.
It's a great hands-on experience that almost no students are going to get an experience like this. I think I'm learning new things. I'm doing things that not many people in the world have done.
It's a monocot, yeah, so that's a good example. Being able to get into the UP or being able to get into these spectacular wetlands is really accessible from our location.
It's not in a textbook or a picture on a computer that you're looking at. You're able to interact with them, take a flower apart and look at the pieces of it.
I'm talking to a lot more people that are researching, doing a lot of cool stuff here. Really, it's an amazing experience.
We're creating, a sort of drumbeat and a continuing cadence of developing young people into the sorts of environmental scientists and advocates that we know that we need in order to impact the change that now has become that much more urgent.
You're not going to get that experience on really most other campuses.
So I wanted to read you one last quote by one of my favorite directors and scientists at the University of Michigan Biological Station in 1915. He's a botanist, and he was describing the people he found around the shores of Douglas Lake. He said, everyone, from the student just beginning their first problem in fear to the seasoned investigator whose mind is one immersive question mark, can be found here. So more than a century later, that is exactly still who you'll find on the shores of Douglas Lake. They might look a little different. They might be artists as well as engineers that are also meeting with biologists and humanities professors to think about complex problems. But we are no longer, I would say, a northern outpost, but an incredible resource for the University of Michigan. And so I would say that we are one of the rarest things that the university owns, a living laboratory with over a century of memory that the world is only now fully beginning to read. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Yeah, absolutely.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
That was incredible. What else do you need from us in terms of advancing this? One thing that comes to my mind is this semester idea that you're advancing. What is the timeline on that? When can we?
Well, we've been working to build, the first thing we need to do is winterize the biological station. So we are year-round, but very few of our buildings are winterized. So we've been working on building new cabins for students and researchers, as well as winterizing the dining hall. And that turns out to be a big lift, because when you've been somewhere for 117 years, there's a lot more than just the dining hall. There's also the septic and everything that runs under the biological station. So that's been taking a lot of work for us to tease apart and figure out how to move forward. But that would be one thing that would be really helpful. We've been very lucky to have the dean of LSA be very supportive of this idea of semester up north, and so we've been moving forward with some of the academic planning, but we haven't made as much progress as I'd like to get our facilities up and going. So maybe a couple of years, I hope.
Well, we'll just do something about these facilities. Haven't we been talking about that?
Well, we just did Camp Davis. We're in the middle of improving, a lot of work going on.
Absolutely. We did collaborate. Is that me? We do collaborate. It's very mostly an educational tooling location. So we do quite a bit of planning with them about how to think about field safety and what we consider to train students who may never have had field experience in northern Michigan. But past that, not much. We do have faculty that teach Camp Davis that also teach biology. Great policy classes for somebody who needs to live there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question, this idea of fire. So it is something that we're recently thinking about, in particular because the Department of Energy is also interested in fire, so we've been trying to think about ways we can collaborate with them. We have these fire trucks at camp being working too, so that we can track the Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Klassen. That was a very interesting and exciting presentation. We now Regent Myers will begin with a resolution from Vice President Luppi.
The Regents of the University of Michigan express their appreciation to Vice President for Research and Innovation, Arthur Scampulipia, as he leads 2001 as a professor of political science and research professor at the Institute for Social Research. Was appointed to